All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Pop Culture Roundup podcast. I am your host, Brandon, joined with my other hosts, Andrew
What's up?
and Casey.
What's going on?
Sadly, our other host, Anthony, cannot be joining us today. However, we do got a lot to talk about. We've got some news regarding some trailers, also some stuff about E3, and we've got some classic movies to talk about this week. So thank you for joining in, and we'll get right into the news. Alright, so like I said, we got some news to talk about. Really quick though, we do have a shout out.
Yep. So, as you may have noticed, our podcast recently got ourselves a theme, and we have nothing but praise to give to our good friend Jonah Park for doing an excellent job on this theme. We really appreciate it, and we would really appreciate all of you listeners to go look at his Instagram page, Jonah Park Music, and follow him there. He does great work. We love his music. We love his work. Thank you so much. I know you're listening, Jonah. Thank you
Jonah.
very much.
Thank you.
Now let's get right into this news. So, right off the bat, we got our final Black Widow trailer.
Yes.
Which, ironically, the last trailer we got was titled Final Trailer. So, who knows what's real anymore.
I mean, with everything, you know.
Yeah,
How many times has it been pushed back?
What are you gonna do? But, not a lot new shown in this trailer. I would say about a third of it is just old footage from other Marvel movies.
Very true. I do really like the action scenes they did add, though. A few little bits are quite cinematic, to be honest. Like, if there's a word to describe it.
I particularly enjoy the section of the trailer. It's towards the end where Taskmaster is chasing after Black Widow while they're falling off a cliff, I assume. We don't really know. The geometry of that scene seems really weird from the trailers. But he lands on like a solar panel and he's sliding down and he's using his sword to direct his path down the solar panel. I'm like, holy crap, that's really cool. I like that.
I was going to point out that's same. I was going to say that. That was probably my favorite part, especially out of the new content that they showed us. Just that, I think they're falling from a crash or something, but who knows what it might be. But
we know an avalanche happens. We saw it in the like first or second trailer. So something happens. They're falling. Cool stuff happens.
One thing.
Oh no, go ahead.
One thing I noticed in the trailer was they extended the scene when Taskmaster pulls back the arrow in his bow. We see him shoot it. It goes under the car. I thought that was really cool.
That too. Yeah, they did an excellent job at giving us not too much, but still giving us enough to keep the hype up. I think I can speak for all of us here. We are very excited for this movie, and we're going to be seeing it as soon as humanly possible.
I'm interested. One thing they showed in there is we see a young Natasha. Of course, this isn't the first time we've seen that, and we saw flashbacks of her in Age of Ultron, but this looks like kind of in the early years of her spy life, because we know in Avengers, Bruce Banner's like all that spy stuff, because the child lures him to the cabin way out there to Black Widow, and he's like, all that spy stuff, they started him young, and she's like, I did. So I'm gonna guess we're definitely gonna see a follow-up on that line, which is really interesting.
I think it's not only necessary, but it would be very interesting to get the background and just everything about her in general because we don't know much from her youth and why she is the way she is, and you know where I'm going.
Yeah,
We
I
need
mean,
that
her
backstory.
yeah, her life is intentionally mysterious, and it's gonna be cool to actually have it all make sense.
Especially since it's been teased many times throughout the MCU.
Oh yeah.
Get the answers we've been waiting for.
Mm-hmm.
After that trailer, we want to break up the Marvel monotony a little bit. Space Jam released a trailer. I'm not entirely excited for the movie, even though I do enjoy the older one, and I think this one would be very fun. I really like the art style, to be completely honest. It's very well done, and it looks very modern with the older twist that the Looney Tunes cartoons did have, which I greatly enjoy. But, I mean, it's Space Jam. There's not much to say about it.
I'm personally, I know everyone has a lot of nostalgia and love for the first movie, but I don't. So I'm going to maybe be a little bit more critical of this trailer and say, after watching it, all I could think was, I've already seen this movie, and it's called Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Of course, obviously, there's going to be different plots, apparently, forgive me for not knowing basketball players, but I believe this is LeBron James. Correct?
I have no idea.
Okay, cool.
This is going to sound really bad on us.
Yeah, I don't know basketball.
Yeah.
I think it is LeBron James, but anyway, look, a basketball player apparently is transported into the Warner Brothers vault and needs to rescue his son from Don Cheadle. I think we can all agree Don Cheadle is pretty great, definitely up there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really buy him as a villain. If he even does end up being a villain, he kind of seemed a little villainous in this trailer, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, I don't know. I see what they were going for, but I feel like it doesn't really get me as hyped. The ending was cool, that little endgame type scene where everyone's coming together. You see Kong, you see Flintstones, Iron Giant. That was cool, but I don't know. It's not really a movie I'm too hyped for.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot more things that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Agreed.
One of those things, of course, being Loki.
Oh, yes. Not a movie.
Oh, man.
But
Definitely not a movie. This is a mini-series, of course, airing on Disney Plus on June 11th. But, wow, this looks really good.
Yeah.
I am incredibly hyped.
Yeah, I think WandaVision and the first 3 episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier have already proven that Marvel is more than capable of making these original mini-series and have them be movie quality. And so full confidence going into Loki, and I think it's going to be a really fun show. Owen Wilson in particular, I can already tell he's probably going to be a favorite character.
Yeah.
Easy. I really enjoy these miniseries they're coming out with. Number one, they're longer than their feature-length movies.
Mm-hmm.
In total.
Yeah, in total. And we get more content, I feel like. And it allows them to make not necessarily better stories, but extend stories and really flesh out and take their time and do things because they are movie quality in a short TV series. And it just like the Loki. By the way, this trailer showed off an insane amount of stuff we haven't seen before, and it gave a lot of context to where the story is going, which I think we're all incredibly excited for. It just makes me so hyped for what's also coming in the future. I know we're talking about the Loki trailer, but like I just read the first comic for Moon Knight, and they announced Moon Knight as one of the miniseries, and I cannot wait. Like I have personally knew nothing about Moon Knight. Honestly, the trailer, or the not trailer, the miniseries being announced was the first time I've even heard of him, and I picked up a comic, and by God, he is a cool character. I'd love to see them flesh out a show about him and get him in the MCU. Super hyped, and the way they showed off Loki and how they've been doing the last two, it's just going to be great. I don't think there's any other way you could put it. It's just going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but when watching the trailer, there's a very specific point that has consistently gotten me to laugh like every single time. And it's when he falls into the room with that dude with the cat. He just has a stack of paper and he just pushes it towards him and says, "Please sign to verify that this is everything you've ever said." And he goes, "This is preposterous," and then prints out another paper and goes, "Sign this too."
That part is very funny.
Yeah,
that has gotten me to laugh every time.
that scene right there, I'm glad you brought that up. The first trailer that we got for Loki a while back, I was like, okay, yeah, this will be a pretty cool series. But when I saw that scene, I was like, oh yeah, this series is about to be gold. I'm so hyped for this.
I think it's just going to be... Because number one, like, everybody can see this in the trailer, it's not normal Loki, obviously. It's the Loki that used the Tesseract in Endgame. And it just so many questions, but we all know so many are going to get answered. It's been hyped up before, and this new trailer definitely for me hypes it up to 1,000,000,000%. Like, and the way, like we were saying, how amazing WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier have been helps with that. Like it elevates that opinion even more. But he's just a very unique, out there character that I don't think we got enough of in the MCU. And I'm very, very happy with the direction and how it seems like it's going to go.
Yeah.
You brought up that we haven't really, quote, had a whole lot of him in the MCU, and see, that's where I think you and I would disagree, because when this show was first announced, I was like, really? I mean, his story's complete. He died a hero in Infinity War. I kind of feel like his book is closed, and where it's at is where it should stay. But, you know, when that first trailer dropped, and then this new trailer, I was like, okay, I'm on board for this. Let's full steam ahead.
Yeah.
I don't want to speculate too much, but I do think that this Loki will end up in the
Canon.
Prime timeline, which I think at this point we should just start referring as 616 like they do in the comics.
Yeah. I don't know why I said canon. Everything's canon.
Yeah.
Not to get off topic, but going back to what I was saying, do any of you know anything about Moon Knight? I just want to ask both of you a quick question.
I know I don't know the name of his alter ego, but I know it's a billionaire, like a Bruce Wayne type thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna say, that he's kind of Marvel's Batman.
Essentially, I would say there's most definitely differences, but that's how Marvel versus DC goes anyway. It would essentially introduce, though, Egyptian gods. And I want to know what you guys would think about that being within the MCU.
I mean, I don't mind, like, obviously this isn't the MCU, but I mean, in the DCEU, there's just casually Greek gods. Like,
True.
Zeus and Ares and whatnot, they exist and no one bats a freaking eye when they're told about this. Like, yeah, okay. I mean, Chris Pine's character, Steve Trevor, he's obviously like, okay, yeah, okay, sure. But, you know, like, Batman is told about this and he just kind of shrugs it off, it's whatever. But, going obviously back to Marvel, I mean, the Norse gods are real in Marvel, so...
Why not?
Yeah. Of course, it's a little bit different, being that the Norse gods in Marvel are, well, aliens, essentially.
Yeah.
And if I'm hearing this correctly, for Moon Knight, the Egyptian gods are actual legit gods.
At least in the comic I read, we don't see physical reminiscence of them or anything like that, but two individuals gain / control their power based off of certain gods. Incredibly interesting. If you guys would like to borrow it and read it, I am certainly willing to let you guys. But
having read the comic, what do you think of Oscar Isaac being cast as Moon Knight?
That's a really good question.
I mean, me personally, knowing not really a whole lot about the character, I'm all for this. He did a great job as Poe Dameron.
Yeah.
He played. I mean, he didn't really do a whole lot as the character, but I think he did pretty good as Apocalypse in, well, X-Men Apocalypse. He's been in a few other things that I've really enjoyed, so I'm definitely all for him coming to the MCU.
Yeah, I really, really like him as an actor. I think he's phenomenal. He's done a great job relating to the character. Obviously, when we go from comic to the MCU, films, or now different forms of media, we talk about the differences between what we see on camera versus what we see in the books. I'd say a few minor changes would have to be done, but I think he fits a good... Like, out of a lot of people I can think of, I can't really think of anybody who could fit better off of the top of my head. It is going to be a very unique role because he is similar in Batman in the way that he's kind of like the vigilante, but he's also kind of twisted in a strange way. Again, not to get into it too much, but
we're well past that. We are
all
into this now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not to spoil too much of the small amount of media I have read regarding Moon Knight, because there's not a lot, but there's also a lot, if that makes sense. Like, there's not 1.5 billion comics like on Iron Man and Cap and Batman and Superman, but there's still a good amount of content that I have not delved into. So there's also a lot I don't know about him, because this is also like part 1 of 6, I think. So there's a lot more of the story to learn about, a lot more about the character to learn about. So with a lack of knowledge, I can't say he would be the perfect fit, but off the top of my head, I think he was a great pick. And I can't really put anybody above him.
Well, that's good to know. I'm excited. I'm excited for that show. We got a little bit off a topic from Loki, but
well,
I'm excited for all the mini series. They all look good. I think the next one to come out is either
Well, Loki
obviously after Loki, I mean, is either Miss Marvel or Hawkeye. I think it's Miss Marvel.
Yeah, I'm more hyped for Hawkeye.
Yeah, same.
That one. It's going to be
So,
top
do
tier,
we
I
want
think. Sorry.
do we want to move on to some E3 news?
Yeah, so a little bit of news regarding E3. We have heard a little bit. They are doing a virtual showing this year. Quite obvious as to why. They do kind of already have a venue and have already announced that they're trying to do a in-person venue in 2022 in LA. Hopefully we get a lot more about that as time goes on, because I think a lot of people want to get back out there, start experiencing things as we used to, which is completely understandable. But as of right now, we are still in a pandemic, and they are doing a virtual showing. We will be hearing stuff from Nintendo, Microsoft and Xbox, Capcom, Take-Two Interactive, a couple other people. They've already kind of jumped in and said, yes, we're going to be there, just taking early initiative. Sony is also taking the initiative of saying, no, we won't be there. But we know that's kind of how Sony's been rolling, as of missing 2019 and 2020 being canceled for E3. But just some light news. It is June 12th through the 15th. So personally, I am very hyped. A lot of the Xbox and Nintendo are bigger companies for me. When I know Sony for both of you guys are a little bit bigger. But hopefully we get some good stuff out of there. I'm personally incredibly excited, hoping to see finally some Elden Ring stuff, but that's hope at this point. We haven't heard anything for a very long time. So, do you guys have any comments?
Yeah. There are two things I really specifically want to see at E3. That being the recently announced Indiana Jones game. I want to know when that's coming out, what that's going to be like, and if it's going to be a Microsoft exclusive. There's been some talk of that. We'll see. Kind of hope not. I would very much like to play that on my PlayStation 5. But if it isn't, then I'll just play it on my PC because it's going to be on there if it is a Microsoft exclusive.
Happily.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But I also really want to see some more gameplay from the Hogwarts Legacy game. I think Wizarding RPG is a brilliant idea, and I don't know why it's taken so long for that to manifest. But I definitely want to see some more gameplay, because what we've gotten looks good, but it definitely looks like it needed a little bit more polishing, which is probably what part of the delay is for, which it did get delayed to 2022. But those are definitely two games. Oh, wait, hold on. There's a third game. I hope for this every single year, and every single year I've been disappointed. Skate 4. Just come on, EA. Just give it to us, please. I know. A few months ago there was Skate 4 is in development, but you know what?
Was it though?
That's not enough.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. I will believe it when I see a trailer.
Cases or anything you're looking for? Or looking forward to?
No, there's not many games I'm too hyped for, other than Lego Star Wars. And,
man, that recently got delayed again.
I guess the Hogwarts game. This is the first I'm hearing about it. It sounds pretty dope, so guess that
I'm
too.
surprised you haven't heard about that. If there's one other game I would talk about, it would probably be Gotham Knights. It's great concept. I know a lot of people are very skeptical with how they're going to pull it off, because there's a lot of backlash of how they did the recent Marvel game. The Avengers game.
Oh yeah, that game straight sucked.
Tell us how you really feel.
I know a lot of people are mainly skeptical because of how that game went. And I am a little bit too, but my hopes high. Although keeping my hopes high have been quite disappointing in video games lately. But I mean, that goes all the way back to like Anthem and stuff too. But the only other thing that I could think of is, personally for me, I'm a big fan of Forza. So we haven't gotten that in a while, and it's been like it's every 2 years or something like that we get a new Forza. And they said we're kind of pulling back from that. We're going to take more time with the games. So it's been a little bit. I'm hoping to see something new, but that's just me personally. I like racing games too. So I think with that, we can wrap up our news segment.
Mm-hmm.
And we can jump into our classic movie talk.
Yeah. Just off the top, when we say classic movies, we are talking movies that are universally beloved. We're talking about movies that when they came out, they made waves and they are still talked about and loved to this very day. We're talking your Star Wars, your Indiana Jones, your Die Hards, all of that. And all three of those we will be talking about today.
Plus more.
Yep.
If we get to it.
Obviously, plus more, yeah.
And just to keep it short, when we say classic, we mean 2005 and below.
Yeah, correct. That's kind of like a general time we put on it. That doesn't exactly mean that there's lots of modern movies, as we were talking about before our podcast, how we would call classics, or will become classics. We'll refer to those maybe in a different episode as modern classics. Infinity War and Game, those are such examples. Avatar, etc., etc. And we would classify that as that 2005 to now kind of thing, or 2006. But we will be talking about those in maybe an episode in the future. Right now we're focusing on those 2005 and below titles. Specifically, do we want to start with like Star Wars?
Yep. Let's.
I'm always down to talk Star Wars.
Let's just go in order.
Not?
First movie, 1977, Star Wars: A New Hope. How you guys feel about that?
This is tied as my first favorite Star Wars movie. It is the movie I go to as the movie to watch whenever I just don't have anything to do. I can quote this movie back to front. It is one of those perfect movies.
Yeah, no doubt. And I feel like it was a huge movie, not just for cinema, but for just sci-fi in general.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. There's an excellent documentary. It's on Disney Plus, but obviously it existed before this. It's called Empire of Dreams. I don't know if either of you guys have seen this.
Yeah,
it sounds familiar, but I don't think I have.
Well, we'll give you a brief rundown. So it goes over the creation of the original trilogy, and I think it dips a little bit into like a Phantom Menace, but it definitely focuses on the original trilogy. But before that, it kind of gives you a brief history of like the culture of cinema leading up to the release of the movie. And the way they described it is movies were kind of a lot darker in tone. There wasn't like a lot of hope, pun intended, even though it's not a pun. So it's a lot of kind of downer movies, there where it's all there. Obviously there's your fun movies here and there, but when Star Wars hit, it was a game changer.
Yeah.
I mean, to this day, we're still talking about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Whether you enjoy talking about Star Wars or not today, that's of a whole nother discussion, which we're not going to get into. But
yeah,
I mean, the Star Wars movies, I think I could speak for us all, kind of shape our childhoods.
Mm-hmm.
We've got our classic Disney movies and stuff like that, but I think when we were all old enough to understand Star Wars, like, that kind of just set the tone for kind of who we are today.
Yeah, I think I grew up
in a
more
way
on Star Wars than Disney movies.
Well, I would.
Uh,
I just mean that in. I think I remember watching like Cars and stuff when it came out. When I was very young, before watching
mhm.
Star Wars. That's all I mean. Because like at the
Yeah.
age of
Yeah.
3, when Cars came out, I didn't understand Star Wars if I did watch it. But Cars was simple enough for my child mind.
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars is so influential. I mean, even as an adult, just the prospect of seeing new Star Wars content just perpetually excites me. I am so excited for Rogue Squadron. I am so excited for the Taika Waititi movie. We're getting off base from the classic movie stuff, but it ties back together, being that A New Hope is like one of those influential movies that you're still feeling to this day.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, for
definitely
going back to what you're saying just a second, like I think we are all excited for the new Lego game. Like,
Oh,
oh
yeah,
my
for
god,
sure.
it's
yes.
Lego. Like, as childish as Lego sounds, oh my god, does the game look awesome? And I am incredibly excited for it. But if we're gonna keep talking, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. I was just gonna say, I mean, I've said this multiple times to you guys, but the moment that goes on sale, I'm dropping the $60 or whatever it's gonna be. Like,
Heck
that's
yeah.
going.
Mhm.
It's
Easy.
already sold me. Like, the moment it didn't even need to show any gameplay. The moment it was announced, it was like,
Yeah,
sold.
just the
Take my
concept
money.
of being able to
Yep.
play 1 through 9, maybe even Rebels and Clone
Mhm.
Wars. That's
I think they said they aren't going to go that far. I don't think they're doing any of the anthology stuff, but maybe DLC. Let's hope.
That would be cool. That'd be very cool. Continuing on, I guess we should kind of focus on Star Wars for a little bit for now. Kind of just go through the movies. Empire Strikes Back. Now, you said A New Hope is like tied for your favorite. This is hands down my favorite Star Wars movie.
Mm.
Easy. I personally saw this 5 or 6 months ago in theaters for the first
Same.
time in my life, and I was blown away. Like, the movie came out in 1980,
Yep.
and even we've had the minor updates as time has come on, like as it's gone through time, but this 40-year-old movie still blows me away. Just seeing it on the big screen, and I've watched it 100 times at home. Like,
It's insane.
it just, Star Wars in general is incredibly influential in every aspect of its existence.
yeah. I think
But-
out of every movie that we're gonna talk about, New Hope is definitely the most impactful.
Yeah, being the first one. But
But of course, Empire is widely regarded as the best Star Wars movie, and I do not disagree with that. It's not my favorite. Definitely top 5, not my favorite. But we'll get into that when it comes to what is my actual favorite one.
I mean, yeah, like just even like as simple as pre-Hoth fight before everything goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just every little aspect of that story, every little bit and piece, and then going to Cloud City and everything, just captures so much of what I think Star Wars is without diving so much into the, like, not to diss on newer Star Wars, and that includes prequels and sequels. I really like how little they focus on lightsabers. Like, lightsabers are not used heavily. They really save it for important, climactic, really, like, every lightsaber fight has a really deep meaning, is very impactful, and I think part of that is because it was really hard to do lightsaber fights.
You're right.
But it kind of worked out in their favor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we get, what, 3 fights in the 3 movies, one per movie, like one big fight each movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
the sequels kind of follow suit in that regard. There's a
yeah,
few more, but I think it makes sense for the prequels for there to be a lot more lightsaber action, considering that.
I mean, there's way more Jedi
yeah.
and
There's
Sith.
way more Jedi and whatnot, but we're all at that time. We're seeing the Jedi at the height of their hubris. They view themselves as the best of the best. So of course, at any situation they can, they're gonna bring out the lightsabers and be like, okay, things getting serious now. Lightsabers are out, everyone. It's my turn to talk.
Yeah.
So
I really, as Star Wars as a whole, I think all of us really enjoy it. But
yeah, I know we're really kind of skirting the line here between just turning this into an entire Star Wars episode.
yeah. Let's focus on the original trilogy, and we could talk heavily on Star Wars in its own episode because it deserves its own episode.
Just once we're done talking Star Wars, do we just want to give a brief list, like our top 3 favorite Star Wars movies, and then move on to whatever we have next?
Yeah.
After talking about Return of the Jedi, obviously.
We can do that.
Okay. Return of the Jedi, often viewed as the black sheep of the original trilogy. I like it. It's not my favorite Star Wars movie, not even in my top 5.
Really?
But
Really?
yeah, no. I'm not going to give a whole list, but unfortunately, it rates kind of low. Like, I rated above 1 and 2 and 7, but I think it's below everything else that I didn't mention, and that makes it sound like I don't like it, but I really, really do like it. It's such a fun movie. It drags a little bit in the midsection after the speeder chase on Endor and before Luke goes to confront Darth Vader on Endor at the landing platform. That section where C-3PO is telling the story of the original trilogy. That part kind of drags a little bit, but it's important because it's when Luke reveals to Leia that, they're related.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I could see how that can kind of turn you off a little bit, because that part is incredibly dragged out. Like, I mean, how much of the movie is on Endor?
Most of it.
Yeah.
I'd say, because the first, half hour is on Tatooine with Jabba, and then, we spend a brief little bit on Dagobah, and then with the Rebel fleet, and then, they do the whole flyby with, Vader's, Super Star Destroyer, and then they land on Endor, and that's pretty much the rest of the movie is on Endor or above Endor or on the Death Star too,
Yeah. I mean, I think, like you said, it's still a phenomenal movie. I rate it probably a little higher than you do. I think it's probably, if we're talking top 5 for me. It would make it just barely onto my list.
Right.
But
is this top 5 including Rogue One and Solo, or are we strictly talking the Skywalker saga?
Oh, if we're talking Rogue One and Solo, it wouldn't make it. It wouldn't make it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I hold Solo very high compared to a lot of people. That movie is great, but again, not getting off topic from the original trilogy. I still think that's a phenomenal movie. And they did I really, really enjoy, obviously, the fight between Vader and Luke at the end of the movie, and Palpatine eventually. Such a good movie in the end.
I can only imagine what people were thinking in 1983 when, the Emperor is standing up and he's walking and he's giving his monologue, and then boom, lightning fingers. Like, what? That had to have been insane back then. I mean, growing up with it, you saw the prequels and whatnot. You saw you saw all this, and it's like, oh, lightning, yeah, I knew that was a thing. That is still really cool, but I already knew it was a thing. But back then, like, that was a new thing. That was like, what?
Wait, that's why this guy is so powerful? He could shoot lightning.
I know.
Yeah, just such a good movie. Star Wars in general is just so phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not a Star Wars episode. So, what would you like to talk about next?
Well, I think we said we were going to do our top 3 from...
Oh, yeah, let's do our top 3 super quick.
Here, you can go first.
My top 3 would be Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would be Revenge of the Sith, probably, as my second one. I don't know why I say probably. I don't think there's any hesitation saying that's my second favorite movie. And I would honestly put Solo as my third. There's a lot about Solo that I really, really enjoy.
I getcha.
And I think people are way too critical.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they just did a phenomenal job, and it slides right up there for me. Not to say any other Star Wars movie is not good, because I think every Star Wars movie in existence and media is phenomenal. But
you heard it here first, folks. Brandon thinks that the holiday special is, quote, phenomenal. So
okay, the holiday
there you
special,
go.
as hard as it is to sit through, like, I'm not saying it's great, but as hard as it is to sit through and how dumb some of the dialogue is, it's still kind of charming.
Yeah, there's something to it. You know, you can, like, George Lucas really tried to bury it, but I mean, now we can look back on it and be like, that was dumb, but we can have a good laugh about it and reference it.
You have to sit there for like 45 minutes with his family, Chewie's family.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh my god. how much the what would you call the sound they make?
It's a roar.
Yeah, how much roaring you have to sit through, and then it's just subtitles.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it is a bear. But again, like I said, there's something just charming about it. The new one's pretty funny though.
The Lego one.
Yeah.
I need to watch it. I'll watch it in December.
It's worth the watch.
My top 3 is, I have 2 of them are tied for first because I always go back and forth. I'm gonna make some waves with this one, so bear with me. It's a bit controversial. Tied for first, in my opinion, is A New Hope and The Rise of Skywalker. I ain't here to defend it, but God, I love them. I love those movies so much. There's just something about them.
I can already hear people
Second,
typing in the comments.
yeah. Keep it civil, people. Keep it civil. Second would probably have to be, if we're counting the anthology movies, would either go to Empire Strikes Back or Rogue One. But just for the sake of simplicity, let's just say we're just talking about the Skywalker Saga. It would go to Empire. And then third favorite would go either to Revenge of the Sith or The Last Jedi. Again, I can already hear the comments. Just, we're not here to cause a scene.
Bruh,
just
the comments? Me? Like, what? Revenge of the Sith and The Last Jedi?
If we're not counting, or if we are only talking about Skywalker Saga, I would switch Solo for third with A New Hope.
Fair enough.
Even though I hold Return of the Jedi very high, because Boba Fett's, like, Mandalorians in general are just like my favorite part about Star Wars. But Casey, what would you consider your top 3?
Revenge of the Sith, Empire Strikes Back, and A New Hope.
This guy just had a list.
He was ready to go. He had it down. Respect.
Alrighty. With that list down, we will be doing a Star Wars specific episode sometime in the future, so look forward to that. We'll go into more detail on other things too. But I say, you want to talk Indiana Jones?
I'm always ready to talk Indiana Jones.
I know Casey here hasn't seen it, and we are both very disappointed in him.
I'll get to it.
But
when I get to it.
Let's start with the first one, the best one.
I would say the best one is
arguable.
probably Last Crusade, but we're not here to argue. But I think we can agree Raiders of the Lost Ark is
phenomenal,
as close to a perfect movie as you can get.
Yeah, I
think just the characters are great, the action is well done, the adventure is really cool. Like, I mean, you know, most adventure movies are like, oh, go search for this treasure in wherever and do this and that. But no, it's like, hey, go find this religious artifact. And, also the Nazis are after it.
Well, that's also not thought to be real.
Well, yeah. I think...
That's implied, though.
Yeah. There's just a lot about that movie. It just... I wouldn't say it's like a particularly deep movie, but it's a blast to watch. I don't think you can't have fun watching it, or I kind of used a double negative incorrectly. It's a fun movie to watch. I can't imagine that you would not have fun watching it. Like, it's such a fun movie. From minute one to credit roll, it's just amazing.
Yeah, not to get into too much because I don't want to spoil anything for Casey.
Right.
Just the way, like, adventure movies are pretty linear in how they go, and I think they did a phenomenal job at changing who has the upper hand and going to various places and kind of keeping it under the rope how the story goes. Like, obviously once you see it, you know how it goes, but as I think Casey will experience the first time, it's like, 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 they do a very good job at, like, making it feel like an adventure. Like, not saying that other movies don't do a good job about that, but it is very linear, and you're anticipating the next step, and you're anticipating who's going to gain the upper hand and how, you know, how the other person is going to gain the upper hand and take control of the situation. It is very, very well thought out, very well directed, very well written, and I do not for a second disagree when you say it's a perfect movie. It is 100% a phenomenal, perfect movie. Like, there's no other way of putting it.
And off of that, I just want to bring up one thing that I've seen talked about recently yet again. There's a common theory that Indiana Jones himself does not have any effect on the plot, and that if he weren't there, the events of the movie would still play out. That is nonsense. There are several instances where that just is not true. I mean, for one, Casey, we're going to get into just a little bit of spoilers here, but it's nothing big. You know, at the start, Marion and her bar, if India had never shown up, then the Nazis would have gotten the medallion, and they would have found the Ark. And then, you know, that leads to the fact that without Indiana Jones, the Nazis were digging in the wrong place. They would have never found the Ark. So Indiana Jones is vital to the plot. I don't really get where the theory that he isn't came from, but it's nonsense.
And then also, like, the Ark would still be where stuff happened.
Right, yeah. If he wasn't there, it'd still be where it was at the end of the movie. So,
like, there's a lot and this applies to all the movies, there's a lot that would have never happened or happened very differently if Indy was not involved. But
do we want to move on to Temple of Doom, or do we want to do what I often do and just kind of just skip right on over to Last Crusade?
I would like to make minor comments on that movie. It's not great, but it's still decent. I watch it if I plan on watching the whole thing,
Right.
but sometimes I just elect to skip it.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily rough to watch. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's quite just off from the...
Yeah,
Just
mhm.
watching the first one and then going and watching it, it just completely changes everything and almost in a way drags down the mood.
Yeah, it's definitely got that darker tone. It is actually my least favorite. I like Crystal Skull more than Temple of Doom.
As bad as Crystal Skull is too.
You know what? I've rewatched them last year. I found some pretty redeeming qualities about Crystal Skull,
Yeah.
but that now's not the time. I think Temple of Doom it kind of just isn't fun.
Yeah, there's not, like, it is... When we talk about how the first Indiana Jones movie goes versus this one, Raiders of the Lost Ark is, as I said, a grand, great adventure. He goes all across the globe, and he's doing all these various quests to finally, change the upper hand, and goes back and forth, and like I was saying. And then you get this, and it's like, what? Like, the entire movie takes place in one place.
Mm-hmm.
And
which I think really kind of hinders it. I think part of the joy of Indiana Jones is the fact that the adventure spans the world. They go, first one, it's America, and then it's Nepal, and then it's Egypt, and then it's, it's everywhere. And
it jumps around. And
in Last Crusade, it's, it starts in America, then it's Venice, and then Germany, or not Germany, Austria, and then, wherever else. And then even Crystal Skull, goes America, and then South America, and... Okay, actually just those two places, but you get the idea.
I can't remember if this exists within Temple Doom, but the Indiana Jones movies, as weird as it sounds, has a PowerPoint slide transition kind of between scenes where they have the plane flying or whatever mode of transportation to wherever he's going, and like I said, it's like a PowerPoint slide transition, but it's awesome. As dumb as that sounds, but
you mean the map?
Yeah,
the line?
They show the map and they draw the line.
That is iconic.
Yeah, it's
been parodied. It's been copied. Repeatedly. I can't pronounce words tonight, apparently.
And we don't get that. The Temple of Doom just feels like it's one lacking in the adventure, as we were saying, and it's. I mean, if you really think about it, again, not trying to spoil anything for Casey, even then, there's not a lot to talk about when you think about the movie. There's not much exploring that needs to be done. There's not much problem solving. There's not much taking the upper hand or whatever. It's just problem, solve problem, movie's over. And it's like, okay, what is this? Personally, skip it.
Yeah.
But that's what we're going to do. Let's skip to the next one.
I mean, if you've never seen Temple of Doom, just give it a watch. Just don't go in with high hopes.
Yeah.
But
Going with high
you know what
hopes
you
for the
should...
Last Crusade.
Yeah, Last
Oh my
Crusade
god.
is many people's favorite. It's my favorite, though, again, Raiders of the Lost Ark is probably still the better movie.
I really, really enjoy this movie. I would have to give both a watch.
Mhm.
I would have to, watch both again to compare which one I could say is my favorite. Because I feel like it's a little biased because I've definitely seen Raiders of the Lost Ark more, which is almost regretful in a way. But I mean, this movie is so good. It's right back into what made the first Indiana Jones movie so good.
Mm-hmm.
Just the jumping around, the adventure, the checking off the checklist. That's something I was trying to think of how to say. Like, it's, we need this, we need that, we need to do this, we need to do that. Like, it's not just a singular end goal. There's a singular end goal, but there's a lot of movies don't put the steps in to get there. It's kind of just like go straight for it, or there's one step, or they do such a great job at making it feel like a well versed, well planned out, well thought out adventure that they take you on, and it's so good.
I think one thing that I really like about it, I want to talk about two things. One's more significant than the other. The significant thing being the interaction between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery is just top notch. I don't know what it is, but just every scene they have together is just amazing. Like when they're flying the plane after escaping the Zeppelin, and Sean Connery shoots out the tail fin, and there's just like kind of just a silence. Like he's Sean Connery's character. He's trying to process what just happened, and he turns to Indiana and goes, "Son, I think they got us," knowing full well that he's the one that did that. It's little stuff like that. It's just amazing.
And him being an older man and slightly senile, and
I mean he's a scholar too. He's not Indiana Jones. He's not going on adventures. He's hitting the books, not hitting the Nazis.
Well, that's another great part. Like, just the enemy being Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who doesn't dislike Nazis in the first place and want to see people beat the crap out of them?
Yeah, but talk about a villain that's universally hated. Well, unfortunately not as universally as we'd hoped, but guess what? Universally hated. Nazis suck.
Like,
agreed.
But the other thing I want to talk about is this is a really, really small detail. And Casey, you might want to tune out for 2 minutes while I talk about this, because this is kind of spoiler stuff.
It's all
I would definitely leave.
Full spoiler stuff. But in the scene where Donovan is first introduced, who is of course the villain of the twist villain of Last Crusade, in the background on the piano you can hear the Imperial March being played, which is of course iconically Darth Vader's theme from the original trilogy of Star Wars. And it's one of those small details where it's like you don't even notice until it's pointed out to you, but once it is, it becomes so glaringly obvious that it's like, how did I not pick up on that? And it's one of those small details that just makes the movie perfect, and it just kind of plants the seeds for, do I even really trust this guy or not? But
this is
inevitably,
This is the first time I'm hearing this, and I'm going to go watch the movie after this, just so I can hear that.
Yeah, no, totally. It's when it was pointed out to me, I was like, huh.
Oh my,
no way, that's cool.
I am... Okay, that's actually a little baffling, but I see Casey's back, so let's not talk about it. But
Yeah.
um, shoot, we'll have to ask him if he noticed that after he watches it finally.
Do we want to talk about Crystal Skull? I feel like
it came out in 2008, so it doesn't really count.
Yeah, so it's all right.
Yeah, let's move on.
So what do we want to talk about next? I'm kind of feeling Back to the Future.
Yeah, please.
something you can talk about, Casey.
Yeah, actually, Casey, you go ahead.
Yes, this is one of
We've
my
been doing a
favorite
lot of talking,
movies of
so
all time.
makes it even better.
Yep. Everything about Back to the Future was amazing. I don't know about you, but I would say this is one of those perfect movies we've been talking about.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
The DeLorean is so iconic. It's yeah, you see it in Ready Player One.
Well, I mean, like, it is almost strictly this movie that makes it so iconic. Like, I mean, I don't know if you guys... I'm a little bit of a car buff. Like, each DeLorean is handmade, and they almost exclusively make the parts per car. I think they have, like, 100 cars worth of parts sitting out, like, ready to be put together, but they make each part per order for the car when they were producing them.
Yeah.
So they are, one, incredibly limited, and then two, like, they're so few known before this movie. Like, it was so rare for somebody to know what it is that wasn't into the, you know, this exclusive club of people that know what this car is. And then all of a sudden this movie comes out and people are like, what the hell is this car? Like,
yeah, me along.
I've never seen this thing. I've never heard of it. And then they're like, yeah, we turned it into a time machine for this. Like, a time machine for the movie. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And, of course, it is now such an iconic car that you can buy kits to, you know, kit out your own DeLorean to look like the movie, you know.
If you were lucky enough
time
to
travel stuff,
own one, which would be
which very difficult. It's possible, very difficult.
rare, very difficult, very expensive.
I know. One day when we were in high school, they drove a DeLorean onto the field. They had all the Back to the Future stuff. That was really cool.
Incredibly.
I feel like me, along with a lot of other people, had no idea like a DeLorean was an actual car. Or maybe I'm just stupid, I don't know. But I did not know that was an actual car before the movie. Even after the movie.
I want to give this side story. This only very loosely relates to Back to the Future. But when we were in New York City, the last night we were there, when we were walking, I forget, like Chinatown or somewhere around that area, we passed by an apartment building and the hoverboard was just sitting in someone's window. I was like, nice.
That's cool.
But back to the actual movies, just amazing. Like, I don't know what else can be said about these movies. They're amazing. They're so much fun.
Easily top 3 favorite movies of all time for me. It has my favorite line, where we're going, we don't need roads. I love that line so much.
Iconic. Personally, like, I forget if it's in the first one or the second one. I think it might be the first one. But Doc is, like, checking his watch and stuff, and he goes, damn, and then he does it again, and he goes, damn. I quote that all the time. Like,
this is the first one.
I thought it was the first one. You know, I do that all the time. Also, you know, Biff always switches up, you know, make like a tree and split, or make like a banana and leave. I say that all the time too. It's, you know, if you aren't familiar, it's gonna, I sound like an idiot saying it, but I don't care. I know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Have you guys ever realized that what I'm trying to say is at in 1955 there are, I believe, 4 DeLoreans in Hill Valley. There's the one that Marty brings back from 1985. Then there's the one from 2015. Then there's the one from 1885. And then I believe... Right, there's still one more that came back from 1985. Maybe there's basically, at one point in time, there are multiple DeLoreans in Hill Valley.
Yeah, how did that not create some sort of paradox?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just kind of cool to think. It's never brought up in the movies, but it's kind of cool to it does kind of have a little bit of a plot hole in 3, being that the DeLorean that Marty takes back to 1885 or is it 1855? I think it's 85. Anyway, that one gets an arrow to its gas line and it's leaking, so it can't run. But there's still the other DeLorean there that Doc hides in the mine.
Yeah.
Oh, but wait, no, that's not a plot hole. Because in the letter, in the second one, he says that the lightning bolt fried the time circuits. So it wouldn't have worked anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, like, if I can think of anything iconic from the movie, probably my favorite, I can't really choose between the two. It would either just be Great Scott,
Yeah.
or, I mean, like, at the very beginning of the movie where he goes, I think it's like, if my calculations are correct, when this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious
shit.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my god!
that
when
movie
you're talking about such an experimental thing like that, and that's all you got to say about it. Oh my god!
I love the fact that Doc was so confident in his experiment that he was willing to just stand right in front of it, and he forces Marty to do it too. Like, the DeLorean is racing towards him, and he's trying to inch away, and Doc like pulls him back.
He's like, nope.
Nah, bro. Or if I'm going down, you're going down with me.
And he's like, I just met you. Oh, such great movies. Such a good time watching them. Like,
Isn't it kind of weird? Oh no, go ahead.
I was just
Okay.
gonna say, sorry. They are. If you haven't seen them, please sit down. If you haven't seen anything we've talked about, please sit down and watch them. I don't know why you're listening to this podcast if you haven't seen them, but at the same time,
I would like to apologize for any spoilers we've said, but these movies are like
over
20, or like they're really old. If you haven't seen them,
Yeah, go watch them.
then they've probably already been spoiled for you, and this is not the first you're hearing of this.
Yeah,
we haven't talked about a movie that's less than 20 years old
20
at
years
minimum.
old, yeah.
Yeah, all of these are like
So-
4 decades old. Go watch them if you haven't, but also don't click off because we need the views.
One thing I want to say is it's a little weird at the end of the movie that Biff is working for the McFlys. I mean, he He did assault both George and I'm forgetting the mother's name.
Good question.
Yeah, it's a little weird that he's working, but
No.
hey, come up.
I think it's cool because he kind of
Lorraine.
Yeah.
Sorry, I remembered her name. It's Lorraine.
Like he kind of pushed that whole family around, like all of them at some point.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's kind of like justice that he ends up washing their cars.
Yeah, it's some good comeuppance, but also he's a creep.
Yeah,
and not a nice dude.
There's no
bad.
So, what do we want to talk about? You know what? I know what we should talk about next. The greatest action movie of all time. Die Hard.
You're gonna hate me.
You mean
You haven't seen Die Hard.
I have not seen Die Hard.
Casey, you've seen Die Hard.
You mean the perfectly normal non-Christmas movie Die Hard?
Man, screw that. We going full Christmas here. Bro, it's Christmas in April. I remembered what month it was.
If Santa Claus ain't in it, it's not Christmas.
But, okay. One thing that makes Die Hard the perfect action movie is that John McClane gets hurt. Wait,
can I say something really quick?
Go ahead.
We're being incredibly hypocritical.
Of?
We just said if you haven't seen these movies, go watch them. They're all more than 2 decades old. And then we have, I know Casey and I haven't. You've seen everything on here.
Yeah, I'm a very big movie guy.
Yeah, out of everybody, Andrew's the biggest movie guy. I think we all have kind of our little areas of expertise, but as we've been focusing on movies almost exclusively when it comes to these topics, you're kind of the the go-to guy. But we're being a little hypocritical when saying that. I have not seen a single movie on the list we have written. Oh, that's not true. But 2, technically. I don't know about Casey, but we are being a little hypocritical. I do plan on watching Die Hard very soon after this. So, go ahead. I apologize for interrupting.
Getting back to why Die Hard is the perfect action movie, John McClane gets hurt. And this is a big thing, because if you look at any other action movies of the 80s, it's very, you're Sylvester Stallone's, you're Arnold Schwarzenegger's, you're actually just kind of those two. There are others, there's your Jean-Claude Van Damme's, your Dolph Lundgren's, they just don't really get hurt. They're these invincible action heroes, but John McClane, I mean, the dude gets shot, the dude gets blown off of a freaking roof. He gets glass in his feet, and it's all set up from the very, very beginning. Literally, the first lines of dialogue is setting up what's happening in the movie, and it's just amazing. I can't. It's a perfect setup for a movie. It's a cop out of his element. He gets hurt. He doesn't save everyone, and his, you still got your 80s tropes. You got your police captain who doesn't approve of his ways, and you got the supportive on the ground partner and stuff like that. But even with those tropes, it's a perfect action movie, and it's an amazing Christmas movie.
I won't go with
no. Nothing. You don't have anything.
Nope. It's not a Christmas movie. I can tell you that
because it's a perfect explanation.
Yeah, I can't have an opinion on that. So, anyway.
Also, can we talk about the late and great Alan Rickman? By God, what an actor! Gone way too soon.
Sorry. I'm not entirely sure who you're referring to. Let me look him up.
He's the villain
Hans
of
Gruber?
Die Hard. He plays Snape in the Harry Potter movies. He plays
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about then.
I'm forgetting his character name, but he's in Galaxy Quest. He's been in a lot of things. You know him.
Yeah.
Casey, you have anything to add about Die Hard?
No, you pretty much covered it.
Dope. So yeah, everyone go watch Jake Peralta's favorite movie.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who Jake Peralta is, please, dear God, watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine. You are missing out if you aren't.
Yeah, that's a topic for another episode.
Yep. So...
I feel like next we should get into Jurassic Park.
Agreed.
Very big one.
Mm-hmm. And one we've all seen.
Yes.
Okay.
I would be very disappointed if...
I'm not one to talk, but...
Have either of you guys read the book?
There's a book?
Yeah.
Oh.
The first two are based off of books.
I know that they're based off books. I have not attempted to get them, even though that would be a very good idea.
I haven't read the second book, but I've read the first book. They stay pretty faithful to the book. There's a few changes, a few cutscenes. The book delves a little bit deeper into the science of it all, but it's a pretty faithful adaptation. And just what a fun movie.
Seriously.
I mean, it's just dinosaurs gone wrong. That it just works.
Yeah, what more do you need?
I mean, you could add a theme park of dinosaurs going on, which, I mean, when we think about it, like, number one, a lot of the science behind it is iffy, but not impossible.
It's...
Yeah, I mean, at its core, it is kind of science fiction, but...
Like, just the
it's a fun concept.
Yeah, it's just such a fun, but also, like, minorly horror.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a really, really good watch that has a lot going for it, and it's just fun.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other way of putting it. Like,
you mentioned the horror aspects, and that's one thing that I think that Jurassic Park 2 and 3 kind of forget about.
yes.
Jurassic Park 2 does have one scene that, you know, they're like kind of walking through some tall grass and the velociraptors are picking them off one by one, but it just doesn't really compare to the kitchen scene with the velociraptors.
Yeah.
I think the Jurassic World movies also, I think the second one doesn't do as good a job with the horror, but the first one does. I mean, it's not like claustrophobic and whatnot, but I mean, come on. When you were watching in the theaters, don't tell me you did not get freaking goosebumps when Chris Pratt was like, that thing's part raptor. Like, ooh, chills, man. Chills. But we're getting off of the first Jurassic Park, which is what we're talking about here.
Yeah, it's...
One...
I mean, like, in reference to, personally for me, I find the scene with the T-Rex when he breaches containment and, you know...
She.
Yeah, technically. Well, not technically, yes, it is a she. That part's a little more scary for me. I think if I was able to put myself in either of the situations, I'd be a little more terrified of the T-Rex.
Mm-hmm.
I find that part incredibly, like, even to this day, like, I would find that situation, and I think when watching it, I'm a little more kind of sitting forward, kind of gripping my seat a little more during that scene than the kitchen scene. But
Yeah.
One thing I would like to mention, there is one common thread amongst a lot of the movies we've talked about. Do either of you guys want to take a guess as to what that is?
How iconic they are?
No, it's very simple. John Williams.
yep, I was thinking
Yes.
about the music.
He's obviously he didn't do the Back to the Future movies, but
No, that was Alan
that was
Silvestri.
Alan Silvestri,
Another legendary
which,
composer.
of course, yep, he did a lot of the Avengers themes and whatnot. But just, I mean, half the reason these movies, I wouldn't say half, but a very good portion of the reason a lot of these movies work is because of their score. But that's another thing for another time.
I could do a whole episode on just
yes,
soundtracks alone. Make that happen. But Jurassic Park is definitely another really iconic movie. You got the lines, the clever girl lines that's been used.
Exactly.
The CGI, that was peak CGI for the time.
And it still holds up
Yeah,
today.
it definitely set the bar for CGI at, like, for that time.
So, I want to talk about what I consider to be the greatest horror movie of all time. Alien.
Yeah. If we talk about like, Sorry, It, and other recent stupid horror movies,
I'm gonna say it. I watched it like a few months ago. Not scary at all. I'm sorry. There wasn't a single moment in the movie where I was like, "Ooh, I'm terrified." But Alien, oh my god!
Bone-chilling.
First time I saw it, whew, you're damn right. No one can hear you scream in space. No truer words have been spoken. Because holy crap, scared.
I saw that for the first time when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
That night I had a nightmare about it. Like,
Yeah.
and we're talking a movie that came out in 1979.
Yeah, same. I saw it pretty
and
early
of course,
on. I was pretty traumatized.
Yeah. Of course, all the praise has to be given to H.R. Geiger and his design of the xenomorph.
Which has found its
Iconic.
way through so many different iterations of media. Like, I feel like I should be able to pull examples off the top of my head, but
I mean, it was a Mortal Kombat character.
true.
MKX.
As dumb as this sounds, they just added it to Fortnite. That's how much they're going into it. I mean, and I know we don't get into this. Even there's an entire race within a game, Warhammer, that I play, that's basically like 3 or 4 of the models, which are these like bug alien things, look almost like copies of xenomorphs. Like, I mean, they are everywhere. StarCraft is another great example.
I think they just announced a Marvel Comics line for Alien.
Yeah.
Alien Isolation, one of the best horror games I've ever played. Just look, you don't even have to have seen Alien to know the xenomorph. Like, the xenomorph is one of those creatures up there with like the Predator or Godzilla, where you don't even need to know the source material to recognize who they are.
Yeah.
I mean, when people talk about classic horror, I mean, you hear Jason, you hear Michael Myers,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff. And I feel like it gets left out a lot because it falls kind of into a different category in its own right. But
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly say that amongst all those movies, nothing compares to turning all the lights off, sitting in the pitch black dark, and watching that film.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like I was saying at the beginning, it's bone chilling, it's hair crawling, it makes you jump no matter how many times you've seen it, and
you know what's interesting about it? It's a slow movie.
incredibly.
Like, they don't even get to LV-426 until like 20 or 30 minutes into the movie. And they don't even get into the Dreadnought until, well, actually that's probably closer to 30 minutes. Like, it takes a while for the plot to get going, but you know what? You're hooked the whole time. It's great. I love that movie. I love this. I love the second one too.
Yeah,
Everything after that is kind of what
they
don't really talk about it.
They lose what made the first movie and most of the second movie so great. After that, kind of want to talk
Casey.
about. Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, Casey, you want to decide what we talk about next? You kind of we've
True,
kind of
we've
been
been-
steering the conversation.
Matrix. No, that came out in the
Matrix.
Matrix. 99.
Man, yeah.
Bro.
Mm-hmm.
My main Keanu.
I mean-
I would say that movie is probably a pretty heavy influencer for how CGI is used today, as well as how action is filmed today.
I also
Yeah,
think it's
it's-
a major milestone for Keanu Reeves.
Mm-hmm.
That
like
and-
that, I honestly like. It's hard for me because not going into modern movies too much, but watching John Wick and thinking, "Oh, this is the same guy who was in the Matrix," is so weird. It's
Yeah.
so
I mean,
weird.
No, you're totally in the right for talking about John Wick, because the director of John Wick, Chad Stahelski, was Keanu Reeves' stunt double on The Matrix.
Seriously.
So if we didn't get The Matrix, John Wick would not be a thing.
okay, I'm glad the Matrix exists. Not only is it
yeah,
a great movie, but
Look. I mean, John Wick doesn't even need to exist for everyone to be grateful The Matrix exists.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
but
mean,
Keanu is known for a lot of iconic roles. Bill and Ted, Matrix.
John Wick.
yeah, no,
Yep,
John Wick.
Those
Yeah.
are great movies.
Oh my god. Just everything about the Matrix is. I kind of compare them. Like, I know they have nothing really related too much, but I always think about Inception when I think about the Matrix, and it's mainly because of perception of the universe and the world, how it's all changed.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair comparison. Obviously, they're kind of doing different things.
Yeah.
But it's a fair comparison.
I mean, I think part of that also has to do with I was really introduced to both movies at the same time. But they do such an excellent job of really pulling, number one, putting Keanu Reeves on Earth until, obviously, he's pulled out of the simulation. But then separating him from it, making him seem completely unrelated to the world around him. I mean, for a movie that came out in 1999, comparing it to, films of that time, or even some modern films, like, just how they do everything,
And The Matrix can also be credited with the fact that even to this day, there are still people who are like, maybe this is all a simulation.
Yeah, there's some people that refer to it as real.
Look, I know the first time I watched The Matrix, when Morpheus was showing Neo what the real world was like, I was like, ooh, okay, bit freaked out.
Makes me feel a little weird inside.
That's not a future I want to live in.
I wonder
God, am I living in it?
I was gonna say, I wonder how many little kids went into, like, little kids who didn't understand too much about the movie, but were able to grasp enough to understand the difference between the pills, went into like their parents' cabinet and looked for blue and red pills.
Oh, jeez.
That would be so bad.
Yikes.
That just occurred to me. I'm so curious to know if there's like a lawsuit or something out there for that now.
A disclaimer at the end: do not ingest
random blue or red pills. Oh my god. I don't know why that came to mind, but
You guys want to know another movie that came out in '99 that I think deserves to be mentioned as a classic?
Go ahead.
The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
This is another one I regretfully have never seen.
Man, really?
I have attempted, I should say, to watch it many times. Either something else grabs my interest because I was looking for stuff, and it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I could watch it, but I keep looking. Or it's been on like watch lists, and I never click on it.
Dang.
I
have the first three in Blu-ray, or first three. I have the trilogy in 4K Blu-ray if you ever want to borrow it.
Okay.
Casey, have you seen it?
Yeah, man, I've seen everything.
Yeah.
Apparently not Ghostbusters and Indiana Jones, but
The Mummy is basically just Indiana Jones, but with Brendan Fraser, and the first two movies are really good. The third one, not so much. If you've never seen it, watch it. But if you have seen it, you can just watch the first two.
Okay.
yeah, I don't know.
I think it's just such a fun movie. It never comes up in conversation, but one of my favorite lines is, the boat, because they're trying to get to Imhotep's burial site, but they don't know that's where that is. I don't think, but anyway, they're on the boat and it catches on fire and it starts sinking, and our group of heroes is on one side, and the other group of adventurers trying to get to the same places on the other side of the river. And this kind of annoying character, Benny, he's taunting Brendan Fraser's character M'Connell, and he goes, "Looks like I have all the horses," and Brendan Fraser's like, "Hey Benny, looks like you're on the wrong side of the river." And it's something like that. It's like, it's so funny.
You tried to spite me, but you were wrong.
Yeah,
it definitely has some good lines. But if you're not a fan of the Egyptian and Greek stuff like myself, then you probably won't enjoy it as much.
Yeah,
I
really
will
say
need to watch it because I do really enjoy that stuff, and I always have. And I regretfully, I say that heavy-hearted, have not seen them, and I really need to get around to it.
I will say the CGI in the first two movies, no, and actually all three of the movies, has not aged well. Especially the second one. Oof. There's some rough CGI in them, but they're still fun movies.
You want to know what's a really fun movie?
Go ahead.
This is right on the cusp of our little separation of time. but the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie came out in 2003. And
Curse of the Black Pearl.
oh my god, like, if you talk about a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, this is the best one.
Hands
Easy.
down. No competition.
And it is in my top 5 movies of all time kind of deal.
And I think everyone, and I mean everyone, can agree that this is the best movie based off a theme park ride. Go ahead, try to name one better.
I don't think there is another.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, even if there was another,
but
there's doubtfully very difficult competition. But
oh wait, nope, there is another one. Haunted Mansion.
oh, well,
Yeah, there's a reason you don't remember it.
yeah, throw that out the window.
But
yeah,
also, we were too young to know that, to like have like being cognitive of its release. So like, how long did it take you guys to find out that the movie is based off the ride and the ride is not based off the movie?
well,
I would say, for me, sorry for interrupting.
no,
Probably 2012 or 13 for me.
I want to say I was around the same time.
I mean, like, for me, that was like a peak of my family going to Disney because their prices weren't outrageous yet. And, you know, that's kind of like the thing your family did on any vacation from school. So, if you live where we live. But I would say about that time is like when I really start remembering stuff from those trips. And that's when I would like really start saying that stuff like that interests me. So that's when I figured it out. But
I found out about 3 minutes ago.
What? You didn't know that the...
Nope.
Because originally the ride was Pirates of the Caribbean, but it obviously didn't feature Jack Sparrow. And it wasn't until like 2009 or something like that that they refurbished it.
Yeah, there was geez, it's been a minute since I've been to Disney, so I don't remember if it's still there, but I know that at one point, before you like drop down into the actual like ride and song area, there's like a mist cloud with a projection of Davy Jones's face, and obviously that was an addition after Dead Man's Chest came out.
Yes.
But what a fun movie, like...
I mean, it's based off of a fun ride.
Yeah. Everything else that follows are varying degrees of quality, but I think we can all agree the first one is a ton of fun.
Ton of fun. Very good movie. I honestly want to say it's one of Johnny Depp's best performances. Personally, for me, I really like the second and third one. I would skip the fourth and fifth, unless you haven't seen them, even though they are difficult to watch almost. But I mean, when my favorite movies involve like giant robots and monsters, and that's kind of like everything about what my top list is, and then a random pirate movie is added in there, it's up there with really good, in my opinion, other films. So it's a very high-ranking film for me.
So I would say that we have time to talk about one last movie. And
we've got a list here.
Yeah, we do have a list, and on that list is Lord of the Rings.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
But
I don't think we have time for that.
I kind of yeah, we don't really have time. So
is that an episode of its own?
Yes, it
Yeah,
most
sure.
certainly is. So I think let's go back in time to a movie that every child who's watched it has gone, man, I wish I could do that too. And I am, of course, talking about Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh yeah,
I'll be honest, I haven't seen this movie in a long time,
Dude.
but I remember it.
Oh, he said it
wait,
a
wait,
long
wait!
time.
I have seen it.
Okay.
I have seen it.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have led
mean-
with that.
Just what a fun movie. I mean, I know, like, the first time I saw it, I was like, man, that'd be a ton of fun just to, like, play hooky from school and just go into the city for a day
Yeah.
and just do whatever.
And then you actually get to do it in high school.
No, sorry, I was a goody two shoes.
Oh, that's right.
I
That's
didn't
right.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't act like you weren't either.
A goody two shoes?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still skipped.
On ditch day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're supposed to.
That was the point.
Actually,
but-
did I go to school that day?
It doesn't matter. Just pretend like you
Nah,
didn't.
I didn't. Whatever.
No one remembers anyway.
I know exactly
Right.
what I did that day, but
Yeah, I sat home, played video games.
circus.
It's a fun movie, and it's like, obviously it's a comedy, but at the end, like with Cameron, it like gets kind of deep out of nowhere. I wouldn't say out of nowhere, but it's like,
Oh
it's
my
like,
god.
oh whoa, this movie kind of has like an emotional core to it.
Yeah.
Whack.
It's,
I mean, I definitely need to watch this movie again. It's been a very long time. So when it comes to this conversation, I'm a little bit rusty, but yeah, it's not exactly sudden change in tone, but it does kind of drop the mic a little bit on you, and it's on top of being a really fun movie altogether, great concept and a great job filming it.
yeah.
I really like the connection you can make to it. I feel like it's really hard to say that about a lot of movies. But, I mean, he's a high school kid who just ditched class.
Yeah, you can
With it.
definitely relate yourself to Ferris Bueller. Something you can't really say for the other movies. I can't see myself relating to a 19-year-old kid from distant desert planet.
Or, being a pirate on the seven seas in the 1700s.
Yeah, exactly.
Or dinosaurs.
The director of Ferris Bueller's Day Off is John Hughes, and of course he's done a lot of movies, but most notably was also Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's
I
another
haven't seen
classic
that one,
move.
though.
That's another classic move.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into it, but it's another one of those movies where you can like really relate to the characters. I think the stereotypes in the movie, like what each of the characters represent, you know, the burnout, the junkie, the popular junkie, the not the junkie, the nerd, the jock, you know, all those, they're maybe a little bit outdated compared to today, but it's still all very relatable, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off is definitely no exception. They're pretty relatable characters. I think maybe Ferris as like a concept is maybe a little bit hard to relate to at first. I mean, he's like this like super popular guy. Everyone knows him. But then he kind of realized that, yeah, he's popular, but really he kind of just wants to like not go to school, and everyone can relate to that.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the more inspirational movies. And by that I mean like it's inspired other movies. Like one I could think of off the top of my head is there's a movie on Netflix called Expelled. Takes heavy inspiration from that movie.
Mm.
I would say a majority, if not every movie we have here and that we've talked about influences everything, it feels like.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about music, when you talk about movies and media, when you talk about books and games and just the whole shebang, like, I can't think of a movie here that we've talked about and not talked about that's on our list that we cannot say has influenced something in life.
Mm-hmm.
And to quote Star-Lord, I think we could all say every movie we've talked about is the greatest of all time.
Agreed.
As we refer to our rating system.
Mm-hmm. And of course, to Guardians of the Galaxy, which will go down as a modern classic.
Oh, easy. Yeah. Both of them.
That's another episode, though.
And I can already say the third one. Like,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, to close out, I know we do have a question we got this week.
Yeah.
Casey, if you'd like to read that for us, we can talk about it.
Absolutely. Mr. Anthony Villa tweeted at us on Twitter, asked the question, if Star Wars does an animated series for the Old Republic, what character would we want to see them raise up and develop as much as they did with Darth Maul in the Clone Wars?
That is an excellent character. Darth Maul famously kind of being a background character a little bit in Episode 1, and just in Clone Wars he was brought into the limelight to be like this menacing villain that is to be feared. Brandon, you want to answer first?
I think I speak for a lot of people. He is my favorite Sith Lord, Revan.
Yep.
Darth Revan. It's canon now. Not only
in name only.
In name only when we refer to the movies. In various books, and now in comics, he has been brought up. In a recent comic, they have his mask found. So, he is within canon when we talk about all forms of what is current canon, book / comic and stuff, to movie. But I think I could speak for a lot of people when I say he's a really cool villain / hero in concept, and when they worked him out, I mean, he was also great, but I would love to see them go into a lot of detail with him and really flush him out and, you know, take him on the same path as Darth Maul. I know you have a different opinion, Andrew.
Yeah, so I know we were kind of talking about we were talking about this a little bit before the show, and I kind of said the exile from Knights of the Old Republic 2, but I kind of want to change that answer. I think Kreia deserves more limelight.
I can see that,
because her philosophy of the world is a lot more gray, and it can be annoying at times. I remember a specific part in the game. You go to, I believe, Nar Shaddaa, and she asks, or she doesn't ask, but a beggar comes up to you asking for 5 credits, and if you give them the 5 credits, she's like, you shouldn't help them. The weak need to fend for themselves, or something like that. But if you don't give them the 5 credits, she's like, why wouldn't you give them that? 5 credits is nothing. You know,
double-sided.
What's it to you?
Yeah, there,
so she can get annoying at times. But I think it's really interesting that her gray view of the world is sort of in line with what the Sith kind of think. And it's not so much that the Sith are inherently bad. I mean, yeah, of course they are. I mean, Sidious is obviously a prime example, but
Yeah.
it's just interesting, and I feel like obviously fans of the game really like her, but you ask someone who's really only like seen the movies, maybe has watched The Mandalorian, and they aren't gonna know who she is at all. And I think that's a character that really deserves to get the light shown on them, because she deserves it, I think.
Yeah.
Well, that applies to, I think, everybody within
Well,
the
yeah.
within the
Mhm.
the High Republic, but
Old Republic.
Old Republic. Wait, what's the question? High Republic or Old Republic?
Old Republic.
It's Old Republic.
Okay, for a second I thought a High Republic, and I was like, oh wait, we're completely on the wrong. So with that, that is our first question. Thank you so much, Anthony. Correct?
Yeah.
Who asked that question, for sending in a question. As we've said before, you can contact us or ask questions on Twitter or Instagram and comment on anything or send us a message or comment on a YouTube video. And we'll do little segments at the end just like this, answering a couple questions every week. So send in those questions for us, and we truly appreciate it, Anthony, for being our first question. And with that, I think we can say that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Just want to give one last big resounding shout out to our friend Jonah Park. Once again, please go check out his Instagram page, Jonah Park Music. It would mean a lot to us, and it would certainly mean a lot to him. We really appreciate the work he's done and the work that we hope to continue to do with him.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jonah.
Yeah, I think
It means a lot.
you're going to see some pretty dope stuff if we continue to collab like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And with that, I think that's all.
Cool.
Have a wonderful...
See you guys next time.
Yeah.
Until the next
Have a
episode.
wonderful day. A wonderful what? A wonderful time. And see you guys next time.